And I thought to myself, okay, as a vehicle of creating this website, Detroit is different from my music, and for people to kind of be introduced to it, I want to introduce people to the different people I know in the city of Detroit. I think this is a very cliquish town, and the dynamic cultures, especially through Black cultural lens, are just not uplifted enough. So I was taking on the task of introducing people to some of the coolest people I knew from conversation in those early iterations of Detroit is Different. And I had no idea in 2014 that podcasting would be where it is right now and how it's taken off.
This episode is brought to you by our friends at Bamboo. Yes, I am sitting in the podcast room at the Bamboo Detroit location right now, which is where you have seen a ton of the Black Fridays podcast episodes. And the reason that is because Bamboo has been Black Friday's creative hub for the last couple of years. However, it's much more than our creative HQ. It's home to hundreds of entrepreneurs, creators, thinkers, and doers just like yourself. Now, whether you need a private suite that's customized to your liking so that you can effectively get work done, or if you need a space to be able to host a meeting or a conference call, Bamboo has flexible, creative spaces and a supportive community to match. Now, if you don't get anything from this message, I need you to do this right here. Go ahead, click the link to check out Bamboo's selection of private suites at any of their locations. That's right, any of their Bamboo co-work locations. And you can also find a link in the show notes as well to get those details. And it's time for you, yeah, that's right, you, to join the Bamboo community. That's it. Time to get into the show. What up, though, Black Friday family? Welcome back to another installment of the Black Fridays podcast. Before we get into today's episode, I need you to make sure you hit that like button, comment, subscribe, and then share some episodes with family, friends, loved ones so we can keep this thing going. Now that we got that business out of the way, I got somebody in the building today who is helping to make sure that we are able to display how Detroit is different on a daily basis. Mr. Khary Frazier, how you doing today, my brother?
What's going on, Mr. Turner? It's glad to be here at Black Fridays and you in this content space of moving the podcast forward. Black dudes doing podcasts. I'm all for that.
That's what it's all about. Now, I appreciate that's high praise coming from you because obviously you have the Detroit is Different network. You have Detroit is Different as an organization and a company that's been moving the needle forward and uplifting people in different spaces, especially in the content creative spaces for years now. So I want to start there. I want to know, like, how did you come to the realization of that? What was that gap in terms of what you saw was needed in Detroit? And then why did you want to be able to uplift that or do something about that from a media perspective?
All right, I was going to say some type of joke about it because so many people in content relations is like, you know, what black men and black women ain't doing. You ain't making money investing. No, it was nothing like that. So what happened was like my history really is in hip hop and music. So 2015, I released my last album, If Detroit Were Heaven. But leading up to that, I wanted a vehicle to promote what my music coming out would be. And I wanted it to be a little bit more creative. So it's hard to think back for a lot of people, but in that era of 2014, it was a movement of a lot of zines, you know, blogs were where blogs were, but podcasting was picking up, especially for me.
Yes.
I've been listening to podcasts since 2009. I like the free-flowing conversation of it. And I thought to myself, okay, as a vehicle of creating this website, Detroit is Different from my music, and for people to kind of be introduced to it, I want to introduce people to the different people I know in the city of Detroit. I think this is a very cliquish town, and the dynamic cultures, especially through Black cultural lens, are just not uplifted enough. So I was taking on the task of introducing people to some of the coolest people I knew from conversation in those early iterations of Detroit is Different. And I had no idea in 2014 that podcasting would be where it is right now and how it's taken off. And it's even expanded into a network in 2016, allowing others to create. You've been inside the studio house on the network through the New Kids. Shout out to what they're doing.
Yep.
And others to be creative, opening up that platform, as my best opportunities have come from providing opportunities to others and connecting with them.
Now, how did you take it from an entertainment lens and then obviously developing the media base of Detroit is Different to actually doing different activations and providing different programming and services through that entity?
Wow, it's like, okay, questions you don't expect. So the media lens is more so a part of like just the suite that I'm interested in. So through hip hop also, it takes me back to, you know, rapping was so much of like my life from maybe like 8 years old to 32 or something like that. Mm-hmm. So being that was so much of my life, I was always into like graphic design, looking at like what a concert poster would look like, what a concert flyer would look like, and things like that. So I'm designing a lot of this on Microsoft Paint, like early editions. And for that, one of my mom's friends, Theo Broughton of Hood Research, people should know Theo in Hood Research, but asked me to do a logo for their Black Businesses on Parade. This is so long ago. We're talking like maybe 1997. So that logo was the first time I did something like that, because I was just so used to just people saying like, okay, that's kind of cool, but nobody ever asked me to do anything like that. After I completed that, somebody for Hood Research said, that's in the marketing. So then I started taking these classes in marketing early on, even in high school. So my high school journey starts at King. We're gonna wrap up the interview here. I went to Cass, so I end at Northwestern.
Yeah.
So
okay, all right, you good? Yeah.
But I don't know if you went to Cass and you had to take the Dexter bus, you may not be fond of a lot of Northwestern coats either. You know what I'm saying?
No comment.
Or the Grand River. You know what I'm saying?
No comment.
But so there in DECA, and I'm doing a lot of this marketing because it was the closest thing to it, because a lot of styles and what we're doing in marketing today really were originated in hip hop suites and what artists were doing to promote albums, and looked at like all of it was labeled in like street team marketing, guerrilla marketing. And I end up taking those same classes into college too. So I kind of always been aware, as much of a fan of media, and I knew that this platform, like I knew a little bit of the value of what it could be. So being that I knew what that value could be, tying it together around one scope, more opportunities started to present itself. And because I'm Black based and dealing with our people, we can't just be online. We have to have the events. So I think the immersive experience is really offering events and media to combine together to really tell our story. And that delivers on a couple of levels. One, it builds relationships with community. Two, it builds an archive of trust so that people can really know in a snapshot what the tone is. And three, it also helps really people have some of the best experiences that are captured moving forward, not necessarily archival, but pouring in group celebration that miss it. Now I can be, I don't know, traveling and connect to the collard green cook-off even if I'm not in attendance.
Right. And I love how you did that drop real quick, because we definitely gonna get into that in further in the interview. But of course, I gotta stop to introduce you to my favorite part of Black Fridays, which is Freestyle Fridays. So. Yeah. Yep. I didn't know you was an artist before, so you can't come on here and not have no bars for us. So
hilarious.
What we doing?
Man. So it's so interesting. And shout out to Tawana Honeycomb Petty, because she has me like dusting off the dust of the microphone to perform at Petty Propolis this year. So Petty Propolis, artist fair for so many artists, and this will be the last one in Idlewild, Labor Day weekend. I'll be performing. So it'll be something like this, you know. Growing up, I had it good from my father and my mother. My big sister, dog, and I was little brother. Mother dear was always around. She was my favorite grandmother, though I still let my granny, she watch us in the summer. When family was my friends, the only ones I talked to. Fed me up, raised me good, fed me good and fought too. Got too much attention, wasn't young. I was the youngest out of 9 grandkids. I got the most loving from no job, retire pay so they could babysit me. They sat around all day and heard the stories they say. From uncle who, aunt what, and cousin, coming over, making plates and talking Southern talk. I was the baby boy, I was the pride and joy. I got spoiled with the love, so I ain't need no toys. And that was way, way back in the day when I was young. Things was cool. Those was the best of my days. So that's some of my rhymes.
Ladies and gentlemen, Khary Frazier.
Hilarious.
Bars. Came in here
thank you.
Came in here prepared with the bars. I appreciate you.
I didn't expect that. But that's a rhyme that's in my head, but I got to figure out what the beats and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I was really immersed
I see.
in hip hop.
I see.
You know, hence I had all these microphones and mixing boards, and you know, for a lot of people, like the biggest hurdle into any of this podcasting is like the equipment. But you know, I was, you know, I'm 14, you know, taking on minimum wage jobs, saving up hours just to get studio time. So that's me. You know?
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why I was very interested in having you on the show, and glad we were able to set up this interview today, because I feel like we're kindred spirits in the sense of from a media background. And I didn't know that you were also like in the marketing in high school and going all the way back then.
Yeah, man.
I did BPA, you did DECA.
For real?
And then obviously both in the podcast game. We both black men. We got that in common. From love the city of Detroit and uplifting our people, and have shared some guests on podcasts as well. And so I love like the business centric focus that you have around a lot of stuff that you do. In what you've been doing with Detroit is different.
Thank you. And I've watched, because I look in my timeline. So people that work in this media space, you know, you see what's happening. It's not necessarily so, you know, competitive to the point it's like, oh, he's doing something that I should have done. No, it's like, no, the more people that get in this space, because I really do feel that as much as, you know, they say everybody got a podcast.
Yeah.
The more people that get in this space and commit to it,
there you go.
It only helps the space itself. Some of the interviews that you're getting, I'm getting, just podcasts in general are getting, have shifted culture itself. So I'm all for it, because as many people that have a podcast, it's a lot that start, but not really many make it past episode 7.
Exactly. The research that I did was episode 3. So they really don't even get it past 3 episodes, and they're just like, oh, I'm good.
Yeah, because it takes effort in the production, and that's really like just looking at your setup. A lot of people, you know, walk in, they talk to you, but, you know, seeing the way you set up your 3 cameras, the microphones, what's going to be with the production, how you capture with the audio, you know, and then syncing the audio with video, like all of these iterations, and then you get all of this stuff connected, and then you get it into a software like a DaVinci or, you know, I use Premiere Pro or whatever suite you use, right? Final Cut. Now you have to figure out the mediums to bounce it over, because it needs to possibly be like right now I'm shifting to, if people know, now I'm getting into the nerd of it, but like we're looking at box animation. So box animation is 1080 by 1080 pixels, as opposed to like for reels for a long time was 1920 by 1080. And then you still want to have something HD, so you still want to have 1080 by 1920. So like all these iterations, and knowing how to edit it, knowing how to position your guests, knowing how to have good lighting, knowing how to capture all of this and then get that right moment, it takes such a commitment that I think people aren't aware of, because oftentimes you're looking at, you know, I guess Kai Cenat is who a lot of people say. So you're looking at a Kai Cenat or Shannon Sharp or Amanda Seals, and you're just seeing like, oh, it looks like they just doing that with their cell phone. You're not seeing a production team of more than likely like 15 people behind them. You know, I met 2 of the producers for Amanda Seals' team at the Afros and Audios podcast, which I'm hoping that you're going to come to. I know Q was pushing it.
That's the plan, yeah.
But I met 2 of her producers. So you wouldn't think that Amanda Seals has like a team of like 5 different producers that all focus on different guests to get, follow up with the guests, trying to have themes for these shows, trying to have segments and bouncing through them. Like it takes a lot of effort if you really want to have a higher production value. So I think the more people that come in, heighten the production value, it only helps to the point where we can really be the pulse, because media right now is here.
Yeah, and I love the fact that, like you said, even though everybody might have a podcast or multiple people have a podcast and could be in a similar space, because me and you have shared guests. I've shared guests with other people that have come on, other podcasters that have come on this show as well. But we all not gonna have the same type of conversations, and that's what the gist of it is. Like you said, we need more people that are committed to the space, so that when we do have these people out here trying to elevate what it is that they're doing, especially if they're doing some good and have a community focus, which is like the core and the essence of Black Fridays, and I'm sure it's the same for Detroit is different. But being able to elevate those people in those spaces and having multiple vehicles to do that, that's going to be quality and help them be able to do that as well, is why I'm an advocate for removing some of those barriers of entry, which is why I started teaching people how you can start podcasting from your phone, and then so that you could start that building block, and then you can build up to having your own studio or having a home studio and all that other stuff. But you got to be able to start somewhere, and the more quality your foundation, then the better you'll be able to build for the future.
Very much so. And also, like you said, I love that you said we can interview the same guests. You can have the same guest on. I don't like to interview more people more than once in the same year, but if I interview at the top of the year or the end of the year, it's going to be a different feel and tone. Like, kind of look at it like back to music, if anybody into hip hop, when Jeezy does a song with T.I. versus when Jeezy does a song with Andre 3000, it's going to be a different feel. You got to look at it like that. Like so many of these mayoral candidate interviews have such a different tone.
Yes.
And I've looked at some that you've delivered, and it's a different feel because of the day, what's going on, how a person's feeling, and then also just the art of having the conversation itself. You can unlock something through these conversations depending upon the flow. And then some people are way more what I would consider traditional broadcast media, the way they approach it in the field. Some people are a lot more like, I guess, like the group dynamic of podcasting. It really just depends on what the show is and what the flow is. And that's the cool thing about this space. It's really having a conversation with your audience. And I believe that you're doing a great job of that, because that's how I feel with Detroit is Different. It's like when I'm talking to a person, it's myself, it's the guest, and it's Detroit is Different in the archives and what has existed. And that's the feel I get from what you're delivering. But also shout out to Authentically Detroit and what they're doing, Orlando and Donna, and, E-Block, through Q. And that's its own culture and feel where, like, you really feel like you're joining into the mix of already how they're moving as homies and exploring different things in almost everything. Miles and what he's doing with Rise and Grind. I was there the other day, and that's a whole different feel and different energy too that is podcasting, but it's like the lens of podcasting through a morning radio feel, and it has like an engagement with listeners that's just going to be a different clip. So it's all about how you go about this and setting your own bar of success, and that's what I think is so cool about it.
Love that. And sticking with podcasting and the conversation we're having now, can you introduce the folks to the Detroit is Different podcast? And I want you to peel back some of the layers for us, if you can, in terms of your process. How do you scout guests? How do you get guests on, editing? I know you had talked a little bit about that, but really, like, what's the foundation of Detroit is Different, what it's about? And then if you could talk to us a little bit about the process. And because you be churning out content. Like, I look up and you dropping different reels and different guys. I'm like, wait, when you had them on? Like, hilarious. And then I'm like, it's so much content that come out. And I'm like, damn, when I missed that episode, like, okay, when did they get on there? And so content for days, but would love to know if you could talk to us more about that.
All right. So I've been doing this since 2014. In 2016, I'm shifting into a lot more of the video space. And just learning more in video too. I look at Detroit is Different as much as I love it. The mission is healing community through culture with media and events, but it's also an active portfolio of what I'm learning to offer to clients with Creative Differences Marketing, Inc. So we can try this and we learn that, and that way I don't feel as green. I feel like I have more confidence engaging, saying like, I think we can try this and I think we can try that. So just know that this builds the standard in the way that I can set the tone of the relationship with clients for Creative Differences, but also in partnership. So Detroit is Different also partners as an outlet, because sometimes you do some great content, great media, and then you send it out to every outlet people personally, and then for whatever reason they're not playing it, or God knows, who knows what's happening in the news cycle. You know what I'm saying? Elon Musk gets deported, and whatever you had planned on the news that day, how great it was, that's not going to be the story. But Detroit is Different doesn't move that way. Detroit is Different can release the content based in that space. So I gave that premise to get into how I'm preparing for a podcast. The first thing is guests. Right now, in the beginning, it was like chasing people down and people I knew.
Yeah.
Now I'm to the point where a lot of people want to come on Detroit is Different. You're going to come on Detroit is Different soon.
Yes.
And I take that as I'm very humble and honored that so many people want to come on and people want to come back. For so long, I was just long form because I love long form content. But I'm biting the bullet because a lot of people really just are only going to connect in short form, meaning like the reels. Mm-hmm. So as much as I'm that person that will listen to the 4 or 5 hour podcast, and not just a Detroit is Different, but I prefer long form content, period, to like thoroughly get ingratiated in whatever's going on. So that's working out, as I'm working out, or I'm cooking, or I'm working on other stuff. I like that field to really get a chance to know who that person is. Everybody ain't checking for long form. Yeah. So I knew I needed to shift into short form for clients. And what would this look like? What would that field be? Because I'm connected to a marketing firm, I got to figure out other tools to have to do this. So I have a couple tools that I use that help with carving what this will be. But I'm approaching an interview with the thought process in mind of, one, I would like this to be one of the most unique and cool interviews that this person's ever had, centered around Detroit. So I try not to read bios. I try not to go too deep into like what a person wants to speak of and just welcome them in. We start with the roots of how them and their family made it to Detroit. From there, we branch out further and they'll talk about different neighborhoods. And from those neighborhoods, I'm tying in what I know about those neighborhoods. Like you spoke up that you're not that far from my neighborhood. Right. You said you grew up like 14th Leslie. So if people know like 14th and Leslie, that is for sure in the pocket of, it's on the other side of Davidson, which creates a little bit of a different feel, but it's still in that same neighborhood. Like, like you said, the Coney Island, you would go to that Coney Island. So I know some of those stories, but also, you have the Muslim Center there at the corner. Beyond just the Muslim Center, for people that are old enough, Esquire Corned Beef was on Dexter and Leslie for years, because I was in Russell Woods after we moved from our neighborhood, and that was at that corner. And Esquire Corned Beef was one of those staples that kind of ties together that community being a predominantly Jewish community that anchored there for generations. So Esquire's there through the 90s, maybe early 2000s. And that connects even to one of my homeboys, because one of my homeboys' grandmothers and mothers worked at Esquire. So Esquire were hiring black people early on, being a Jewish delicatessen there in the community. Similar now, I guess people would say, like what Lou's Deli is. And then you wonder these relationships between, why is black people so connected to corned beef in the city of Detroit? When out of town people say that. It's like, because these relationships between a lot of these Jewish delicatessens in this black community, they saw that corned beef was selling at one point in time when it was a lot cheaper than some of the other forms that would be selling more premium. So they come to the hood and then we do it in our own way. So this is just ways that I'm thinking of all these other conversations I've had in studio and out of studio, because people pull me to the side and I have other dynamic Detroit conversations, and I'm just having that through. And then you come back with your feel and your stories, and that's what Detroit is Different.
Yeah, for sure. And do you have a team? Are you working with a team? Have you curated a team that helps you with this, or is it all on Khary right now?
I do have a team. A lot of my team, clearly, I'm going to put on a lot of the partnership projects or the creative differences projects, because money and revenue is coming in for it. Yeah. It's also Detroit is Different Community Group, which is a nonprofit organization. So I can get my team more activated there. At times, I'll have my team help with just something straight Detroit is Different. And I tell them, like, yo, this is an internal project. Some of those internal projects are like when we did George Floyd moment. U of M Detroit Center partnered with us for that. Other internal projects is that partnership with Dr. Yusef Munchie Shakur, and what we've been doing with State of Black Detroit now for, this will be 5 years. So like at times it is a lot just on me because it's the client work moving that forward, it's the partnership work moving that forward, the nonprofit work moving that forward, and then just the visionary stuff of Detroit is different, staying as the grounding to keep going. But best case, I really would love every Thursday to come out with 2 or 3 podcasts always posted every week.
So every Thursday you would drop multiple episodes?
That's the goal, yeah.
Oh man, yeah, you definitely built different.
Yeah.
How do you kind of keep and maintain focus as a creative yourself? Because I'm sure by working with other creatives, interacting with other creatives, you know, some people are like, it seems like you definitely have a business foundation and focus, but with creative, sometimes it's just more so like, you know, off in the clouds. Like I do this one thing and I got 10 other things I'm thinking of. So how do you kind of maintain your focus and line of sight for the stuff that you work on?
Well, thank you even for like seeing that and honoring that. And some of this is definitely the plane is flying while we repairing some of it. I mean, it's just real because every level, you know, every level presents new opportunities, but those new opportunities present challenges that will only build up what I can do in character. And sometimes that's scaling back. So to make it make a lot more sense in that question, or my answer to that question, it's moving with a pivot. It's looking to be as fair as possible. I'm looking to apply as much of the critical thinking and put myself in the position of the other person I'm talking to and building with to say like, okay, is this fair? And that puts more onus on my team. So looking to offer that consideration, making sure we can pay when a lot of people may not need to pay. But in volunteering, I have to be more accepting of a person's terms on how they want to give. You know, if I have nothing but volunteers for the collard green cook-off, then now I'm looking at, you know, we need these tickets sold. We need to make sure that the back end water is refilled and things like that. So let's offer that consideration, which has me have to be a lot more timely about everything I do to not necessarily monetize, but make sure I'm getting the most value from all of my time, even if that is relaxation and leisure time. Yeah, I have to capitalize that because it's a lot of other people that I've made agreements with to move forward these larger ideas. So some of me staying more business focused has a whole lot to do with really making sure I can honor the agreements that I've set with the people that I'm working with so that we can have that rapport. Sometimes it doesn't happen, but at least if I can be in a position when I have that conversation, know that I've exhausted and turned over many a stones of what I could do. Cause I don't want to just get on the phone and tell people, nope, this ain't happening. Nope, this ain't happening. Nope, this ain't happening. I want to be able to get on the phone like, look, this won't happen. This is why it won't happen. And moving forward, I would like to move like this. Yeah. And I lose some opportunities like that too, but it's something I can live with.
It is what it is because you have to, I think, to be respectful of people's time, energy, like you said, you have to be able to have that foundation and understanding of, number one, like what's your values and the things that you are willing to do and not willing to do, so you don't play around with people's times. Because I think that even like let's stick to the content creation space, I think that you run into a lot of broken promises or missed opportunities, things like that, because you know, so everybody doesn't have that same respect or foundational understanding of what they value and the things that they would say yes to or be interested in. And so you kind of run into some interesting spaces. I liken it to kind of like the music industry.
It very much so, because I mean, making it more plain, it's like, you know, it's a lot of commitments and things that people say. Yeah. And it's pie in the sky. Yeah. That, so like something could be, I'm going to just say, I don't want to say anybody. Hey, artist X really wants to come on Black Friday's podcast next week, but we're going to need to make sure that we can get photos, we can get our video team to come in, and we also want to make sure that you can bring in this special chair and furniture because now they're promoting that chair and furniture. Yeah. So you get that phone call, let's say July 1st. They want to come in studio July 15th. You're going to start making your phone calls to make all of that stuff happening probably July 2nd. Mm-hmm. You really want to interview Artist X and you want to honor everything that's said about Artist X. The person that called you is more than likely a part of like the promotional marketing team, not the business person.
Yeah.
They're going to say, hey, the business person will give you a call. The business person gives you a call later that week and says, okay, the way our accounting is set up, we cut our checks on the 30th. So you make your invoice commission and you'll probably get paid next month. Now you have to manage the furniture people you know, the photographer you know, the lighting people you know. And they're going to definitely want to get in there and take the picture with whoever that artist is. They're going to want to make sure that this is on their social media page. This is a great opportunity for you. But at the end of the day, when those people don't get paid, they're going to be like, Denzel, man, what's up?
Right.
Next time you need something to happen, you're looking like you're on shaky ground. So this is really where I understand why some of the follow through doesn't happen, because I've been in that space. I'm trying to take the onus on in my responsibility, whether it does or it doesn't follow through. I have kept the relationship that I have together, because so much of what I'm looking to build is social capital.
Yes. Yes. And great way to be able to put it. Now, before I forget this, I got to ask you, how and when did you decide to build essentially a content creation space out of a home? Like, how did you even make that come true?
Okay, so this goes a little bit back into my music days. So in my music days, I was a part of the 1440 Collective. The 1440 Collective was a mixed-use music production studio space and also band rehearsal or music performance rehearsal space too. It was the space that at one time was owned by the drummer in Black Bottom Collective. Shout out to Khary Turner, my other brother in name and game. And for years, that was their space that they were rehearsing at. So as they scaled back, and Nadir Omawale and what he was doing was rehearsing there, and I knew Nadir, he was like, yo, we could all come together and create this space. And I'm like, cool, let's do it. And that's probably maybe in the era like 2008 to about 2012. I'm there. So I have this studio, and it's hard to even think of it right now because they're reconditioning everything, but it's across the street from Busy Bees hardware store, which is in Eastern Market. I don't know if people kind of can spot it now, but this is like a start iteration of a lot of the Eastern Market movement of now. And we're in the mix. Like, they're doing parties, doing rent parties, doing studio sessions. I mean, it would be nothing like in a day to have, you know, you'd see Danny Brown, Jessica Care Moore, Stretch Money, Thornetta Davis, Paul Miles, Carolyn Strio. So like this cross section of all this Detroit music, because partners were myself, Joey Spina, one hell of a guitarist, Nadir Omawale, hell of a guitar player, but also music producer, arranger, engineer. Davey G is there, Manpower, dancehall DJ. Biba Adams, the publicist and writer, was there at one point in time. Eric Campbell, a writer and guitar player himself. Like, so you have this mix of all these artists kind of using different places in the space and bringing all of our friends there and all these different parties. It created an energy that was really cool. But I do remember what it was like going all the way downtown. From there, I have a studio in Southfield with my partner, Khan, and that studio in Southfield let me know also, like, with that traveling. So it's a couple years down. I have the space next door to where I live, because that's what the studio is. I'm renting to one of my homies. And I'm like, okay, when he leaves, I'm going to condition this into my studio space what I want it to be. I want it to be close. I'm really thinking to myself, I need to be more grounded in community and just the convenience of what I could do with my equipment. and housing the equipment itself. And now I'm not ending up in a space where it's like, oh, I forgot a mic, or I forgot some headphones, or, you know, engineering and working out of two spaces can be tough, even if the space is like a 5-minute drive, because that 5-minute drive of forgetting a cord or SD card or whatever, that can be strenuous.
Yep.
That's kind of how it starts. But now it's almost a niche into what I do. You're coming to Detroit is different because you want to have genuine experiences connecting to Black Detroit, specifically legacy Black Detroit. In my block, I don't think you're getting more of a legacy Black Detroit experience and feel. I'm not competing if I'm downtown. Yeah. If you want a downtown firm, it's so many that you can go to. But I'm who you come to when you want to reach the Black audience. A lot of people that don't vote, period. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people that didn't take a COVID shot. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people that think to themselves, and for both of those reasons, you know, question a lot of things in institutions. Yeah. I'm looking to engage and connect with a Black audience that many others will not and do not want to talk to. So being in my neighborhood and in my community is essential to everything that I'm doing, because my neighborhood and my community is not seeing anything like Detroit is different. Hence the way that they pour in and they connect with Detroit is different is even more of like a Ali Boumaier feel every day. Yeah. Because they like, you doing that. Detroit is different. You know?
I love that. So now I got to ask you, because I know you keep a pulse on what's going on in the city and things that's happening. And we are in my mind, a historic election period for especially the mayoral candidates of the city. So what was it like having them pull up to the neighborhood studio and being able to engage with them? What were those conversations like, and what are some of those things that you're kind of hearing from having those conversations with them and those interactions in terms of what is the forecast for what's on the horizon for the city, if you have any thoughts on that?
Okay, so two parts. So first, originally, years ago, like the last election, Detroit is Different interviewed many candidates for across the board, police commission, city council, mayor as well. This year, I partnered with Bridge Detroit, another media outlet, independent media, and we delivered the program Detroit Next, which is great, and it puts me in partnership with my cousin, but also very great in production. Studio Lumumba Reynolds. Him working on this is great itself. Along with that, Bryce Huffman at Bridge Detroit really takes the lead in production. So like working with people that kind of know the scope helps immensely. Then Malachi Barrett, who I do public comment with weekly, and Tamesa Bailey, which is really like off of his notebook, staying on the beat and the pulse of what's happening with Detroit City Council from their council meetings every Tuesday, the beat writer for municipal politics of Detroit, and Stephen Henderson, a legend when it comes to journalism in the city of Detroit, especially when it comes to politics and that lens and the history of it. So that project welcomed in so much more energy of a lot of people, and getting them to come to the studio, especially in the snow. People are always like, I can't believe this is happening. Solomon Kinlock was like, man, it's like Hollywood in the hood. I'm like, yeah, we're doing this type of production here. So having those discussions, and we've interviewed this week, the Danetta Simpson interview will go up. Okay. So that's every candidate that's on the ballot for mayor has come into the Detroit is Different podcast incubator. That's phenomenal. So their connection is great, just welcoming in that energy. And not just them, you know, some of them have their campaign managers and their teams to see that this is a space and place in community where you can utilize these resources and be creative. So that's great. Now, in reference to what's happening in the tone of the city right now, first, I think there are many candidates that are great candidates for mayor this year. Right now, it's really more so the sensibilities of how a person would vote and who do you think would be best. The challenge at most are a couple different elephants in the room. So welcoming them into studio and seeing how they respond to it is definitely something that I appreciate and I'm pulling from. And I hope others are appreciating and pulling from as well. But where is money going to be? and who can handle what I think will be like a larger crisis, because a lot of the federal money that was here is not coming. The pensions will be due coming. And then also just the reality of Black executive leadership in this nation has been scrutinized and pressured more than any other type of executive leadership years ago. And this is good to have that archive of Detroit is different. When I interviewed Charlie Beckham, one of the appointees for Coleman Alexander Young at the time, that ends up serving time connected to a sludge deal. And you can go through the history and read into that. But he uplifts that the FBI really were targeting Coleman Alexander Young. He said at the time it was like a 300,000 file dossier on Coleman Young's administration. Wow. And nothing moves forward. And these FBI agents, it's not like they're getting paid McDonald's money. No offense to anybody at McDonald's. Right. So that means that they're targeting our federal government is spending sometimes millions of dollars in building a task force to enforce and follow executive leadership. This year, I welcome Mayor Chokwe Antoine Lumumba, at the time of Jackson, Mississippi, that is a son of Detroit through his father, Chokwe Lumumba, and what he's dealing with the charges he faces. He did not win his re-election in Jackson, Mississippi, but he will stand trial next year. And just that entity of like what he shared and so many other Black executives in that position. So it's going to be a microscopic lens on whoever's in that position of Black leadership, especially executive Black leadership. So that's going to be pressure. Also, Duggan's administration for 12 years. That's a long time and a long shadow. Yeah. And along with that long time and that long shadow, like when I have this conversation, not necessarily in podcasts, but because I'm here, I can say it on Black Fridays. But, when you're Black and in leadership and you have teams full of a lot of Black folks that were hired by somebody that was white in leadership, and this is all lens, and now you're going to let them go, scale them back, or not continue their program, or not give them the same amount of funding, that causes
disruption.
That causes, yes, historically that has caused all types of challenges. If anybody looks at even, and that was Black leadership to Black leadership, but that was older Black leadership to younger Black leadership. But in reading Mayor Kilpatrick's book, written by Khary Turner, one of the things that really stands out is the way that Gary Brown almost immediately, from the lens of Mayor Kilpatrick, I haven't talked to Gary Brown about this, but immediately when he was not selected in the position and post for a police officer, that's really where Gary Brown begins definitely not the best lens of the Kilpatrick administration. Yes. And that starts the arc of so many other things. Right. But this is the type of lens you're going to be looked at. So I'm hoping that whoever in that position is best at who they pick and they appoint, who they're keeping, and being ready to take some heat, because it's going to be a lot of heat. It's going to be a lot of scrutiny. Some of that scrutiny, I'm sure, is even going to come from my voice in Detroit is different, as it should, because it's hard to honor all that needs to be honored when we're in a city where during this quote unquote renewal and revitalization is so many people in communities like mine that feel as though they're not a part of what's new.
Exactly. And so I've had the opportunity to interview Mary Sheffield and Santil Jenkins as far as the candidates for this mayoral cycle. And based on the conversation I had with them, that was one of the things that they pointed out, like in terms of not the way that you articulate it, but you could tell like there is more on the horizon than what we kind of see on the surface level. And then so it welcomes that amount of scrutiny for that person. And so whoever steps into that seat, we're going to need somebody who's going to be able to have strong leadership, somebody who's going to be able to champion the people more and be able to figure out how we can bring more of what we see on the outside or certain parts of Detroit to the neighborhoods, and how can we make it a better Detroit for everybody overall. And then also on top of that, whatever financial budget and things that we have to deal with as well, that's coming on the horizon because of just the economy from the nation as a whole, the economy as to what's going on in the White House right now, and then also Detroit and whatever, budgeting and things that we have to do from that standpoint.
And see, that's why, man, oh man, that's why I'm listening to your podcast, because you do what I like to do, like looking from the macro too.
Yeah.
Because that relationship with Detroit's relationship with Lansing plays a key and pivotal role.
Absolutely.
In what we can do.
Yep.
Lansing's relationship with Washington, D.C. plays a role. Detroit's relationship with D.C. was very fluid between the relationship between the Biden administration and the Duggan administration here.
Yeah.
That won't exist. So how will it deliver? And this also goes into that same scope of one of the realities that exists. I believe Mary Sheffield speaks of this most, of like, we need to bring back a lot more of the homeowners throughout the city of Detroit. I believe also Ty Russell Perkins speaks of this too. But we've shifted so much to a renters-based economy, and affordable housing is such a discussion on a national lens.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to renters and
the
rights that renters have. Even the last council session, they were talking about that right to renew. Legal team for the Detroit City Council said you can't force a person to have the option to renew a lease, but possibly a person could be notified before they are not given that option what the terms would be up to 180 days. Because there's so many people that are living in what we would call, speculative centers. So if you live downtown, if you live in the right pocket of the west side or east side,
right,
you're not given these options to renew your lease even. So you're going month to month, and possibly the hammer may come down where they just want you out, or they raise the rents astronomically to quote unquote what's affordable.
Yeah.
And this goes into that federal discussion, because affordability is decided from a federal lens, but oftentimes I believe some of our political leaders and even community leaders hide behind that lens, because affordable is, for a 2-bedroom, is like $1,725 a month. And in reality, that's more than likely a mother with a child. So, to afford, $3,450 to get that security deposit and first month's rent.
Yeah.
And an economy where we know that the average Detroiter is probably making,
was it like 30K or something like that, somewhere around there?
Even less than that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In most communities.
Right.
That, because they usually are going on what they
on
say
paper, what they make on paper. Yeah.
They go on median income, which,
Yeah.
I often uplift this in my podcast. You got back to trigonometry 101, right? You got mean, median, and mode.
Yeah.
So like median income is like, if me, you, and Shaq are in the room, the median income is going to be million something.
Yeah.
Because Shaq moved the median. It's like the bell curve. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Shaq moved the median way over here. Mean is the average.
Yeah.
The average income in the city of Detroit, I want to say people are making like, man, what was it last time I looked? Maybe like 18,000, something like that for a household.
Crazy.
So it's because it's so many people that are in those conditions. So if you're making even that 30,000 to afford 1,700 in rent, and everything else that you're going to cover, you need a car here, and the car insurance is still ridiculous. Like, you're locked into these positions where so many people that want to live in Detroit, but are saying to themselves they can't afford to live in the city of Detroit.
Right.
And that's going to be the battle that whoever's in any form of leadership, but definitely from a mayor's seat, will have to take in mind. And it's going to impact a lot of people's lives no matter what. Because the real discussion is, if you don't raise rents, you're never going to get people that are earning more money to move to the city of Detroit. But it's a chicken and egg.
Right.
You don't want to displace the people that have been here to attract the people you want. So to make that clean, it's almost like, if you got your woman, keep a woman. Don't try to get with this new woman.
Yeah.
Because that's a possibility.
Yeah. So does the next mayor have to fear you running against them in the
Hilarious.
whatever the next election is?
They definitely don't have to fear me because I know my disposition of what it takes, just growing. I mean, look, and Ken Cockrell spoke to this when he came on Detroit Next.
Yep.
You know, as the executive of the city of Detroit, the mayor, you're leading thousands of employees, street sweepers, the clerk, the people that walk in the front desk, even contractually. And then if we get into contractually, maybe tens of thousands of people.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
And managing how to execute that in those relationships. My disposition, the way my facial features, and my expression, people, I don't necessarily know if I have the disposition for that. You know what I'm saying?
Fair enough.
I would, I applaud those that are in that, and really whomever ends up in that position, I look hopefully to, I don't want to say partner with, but if they're anchored in empowering what we need in community, I look to be present and have Detroit is Different present to support that.
Love that. And speaking of a quick podcast question for you, have you ever told somebody no? Have you ever told somebody they can't come on your show for whatever reason?
Hilarious. Let me think about that. Have I ever turned somebody down? No. Detroit is Different is supposed to be a forum for everybody. Mm-hmm. I've definitely iced some people down, meaning like it takes time to get on, and I know people feel like I'm spinning them, but at this point, just where the calendar is. But I have yet to tell a person no. I have recorded podcasts that people said, let's not release that, and I honor that as well. Okay. For any content creator, I will hope you do that too, no matter who the person is. For sure. But I haven't said no to anybody. And let me think about it. What would be the terms in which, where I think from the outside in, the terms in which I think I would say no is if a person just didn't respect what I'm looking to do with Detroit is Different, and like really connect through Detroit community. So like if I welcome on a guest and they're like, I hate Detroit, I don't never like nothing in Detroit, it's like at that point I'm probably finishing the interview, and I'm gonna try to connect through, but it's like it's gonna be hard for me to release this because my audience is not necessarily the audience for that.
Exactly.
I'm sure it's a lot of other content creation spaces where, hey, you can talk bad about Detroit for 10 hours. And you should go there. Yeah.
Got you. So let's go back to the community. Collard Green Cook-Off. Now, tell me, how does one even think of a collard green cook-off? Because music to my heart, and I'm mad that I get a chance to participate. I believe this is what year is this?
3.
This is year 3. The other 2 I didn't get a chance to participate in, and I'm trying to make sure that I can get to the one that's coming up. By the time people hear this, it'll be the weekend leading into the collard green cook-off. So how does one even come up with that idea?
All right, so look, you guys, tomorrow, y'all need to be at the collard green cook-off tomorrow. But so it's going to be at Chandler Park. If you don't know where Chandler Park is, first off, how long you been in Detroit and not been to Chandler Park? It's like the anchor. It's like, you got Belle Isle, you got Rouge on the west side and Chandler Park on the east side. It just is what it is. That's what you do.
That's it.
But Chandler Park, the old tennis courts, it's going to be a full cultural experience. We have 7 chefs. We have 7 growers. It's going to be over 420 pounds of collard greens that are going to be prepared. You're going to get a free tasting ticket when you walk up. We give the first taste for free. After that, tasting tickets are $2. You get to vote for who has the best greens just for coming in attendance. Fun family atmosphere, intergenerational judges. We have comedian Howie Bell. We have comedian Coco, Orlando Bailey from Outlier Media, but here I'm going to say authentically Detroit. You also have Micaiah Glenn from Bricks Wine and Chef E from In the Business of Food. This is a fun event that's really anchored into the culture, Black culture. That's what we do with Detroit is Different. It started, as far as the idea, years ago when I was doing a lot of studio. So during COVID-19, I started a community garden with some of the land that I had next to the house. My dad was like, hey, we need to get active with that. It was always my mom's dream. Rest in peace, my mom. My mom's anniversary of her passing is July 22nd. So that was a couple days ago from when this will air. But it was her dream to always have a community garden. COVID-19 happened, and it's like, okay, let's get this community garden started because we don't know what's happening with food supply and all this other stuff. So we start that in 2020. 2021, I'm like, for me to commit to this, I have to be anchored in what I love. I gotta bring production into this. So the best thing I could think of was I have a lot and I need to make a lot of a studio, like a soundstage studio. And it's a lot. I thought it was cool. And I offer some of the bands to perform. And also we do a live podcast. So that combination started in 2021. We did it in 2021, in 2022. In 2023, we were seeking more funding. We only got a sponsor from Build Institute for the very last day that was anchored in the collard green cook-off. And shout out to Regina Ann Campbell for that. And it was like, damn, we got the sponsorship money, so we really got to do this collard green cook-off. What will it look like? And we, primarily my project manager, Suzanne Clegg, we talked about what it would look like and what it would feel like. And we began this relationship. The Detroit Black Farmer Land Fund, which were guests on a lot of studio early on, were committed to partnering with us this year and even from the inception, because there's so many black growers throughout the city of Detroit. It's a lot of people growing fruits, vegetables, and just food in the city of Detroit.
Yeah.
And if you're not back to that culture, Detroit is different, you are unaware of it. You know, it's people that have side lots like me, and it's people that have whole blocks full of food and they're farming. And it's good to uplift this movement of a lot of the growers in the city of Detroit. But also the tradition of collard greens and the culinary art of that and the way different people approach it. It's only going to be vegan and smoked turkey. So, you know, a lot of the first question most people ask is, I don't eat pork. It's not going to be no pork in the greens.
Yeah.
So that is there too. So that's how we kind of put it together. And we're very excited about what's happening this year.
So let me ask you this. First, who were the previous winners of the collard green cook-off? And then second, for anybody who may be interested in participating in future iterations, is it possible for you to win if you ain't got the Big Mama arm?
Hilarious. You can, because the winner, actually a 2-time winner, Chef Buddha, vegan greens.
Okay.
He's known as the vegan gumbo guy, but now he's really known as the collard green cook-off champion.
Okay.
He won 2 times in a row. He's not competing this year. I think he will come back next year.
Okay.
And I'm big into sports too. So it combines, for me in sports, it combines a little bit of like boxing and pro wrestling, or what do they call that? Sports entertainment.
Yeah.
So that, and it also is like a little bit of the dunk contest. I love that feel of sport adding to it. This is one of the few events where you'll see grandmas as competitive watching the cook-off, like, you know,
like they watch
dudes may
finals.
watch, may watch the NBA finals or a Lions game or something. It's competitive. And we like to add that pageantry to it too. So I look at it like a boxer vacating the belt to come back or something. So he's like vacating the year and he'll come back and we'll see what's going on.
Love that. You a pro wrestling fan?
Yeah, man. As a kid, you know, I think that's part of the media wing too, in learning. So, you know, as much as it's hip hop, you learn about presentation, speaking style, so much of reaching audiences in different ways. You know, I'm 42, so it puts me started high school as I'm watching, I guess, the Monday Night Wars go on back and forth. Yeah. So I'm looking at this and learning so much about messaging, connecting to an audience and so many other things, you know, like only if you were a pro wrestling fan in the late 90s, early 2000s, would you understand, I could see The Rock becoming Hollywood's largest superstar.
Right. I'm a huge pro wrestling fan too, so I got back into it. I left it for years because when I went to high school, I'm like, you can't be talking about wrestling and stuff in high school. You about to be a adult, or what I thought was an adult. But I got back into it in the pandemic, so I started watching it. I watched the 2020 Royal Rumble at WWE, and then I've been locked in ever since. So now every week I'm like, what's going on with some of the storylines and stuff. So off camera we could talk more about, what's if you're paying attention currently to what's going on.
Not as much currently, but a little bit, especially like really currently. What I may watch now is so many more women, and what's happened with women in sports entertainment has completely
different from
shifted.
the 90s. Yeah,
and some of the athleticism, the way they're building, and really that's what it is. It's the storyline that continues, and how they're engaging and moving forward. Storylines is like, man, it's shocking. Like last I saw, I know we'll talk offline, but
okay. For sure. So as one of Detroit's best storytellers, one of Detroit's not gatekeepers, but one of our champions of the city and a lot of things that's going on. What do you see that's on the horizon for Detroit is Different? What's coming up for Khary? I've seen you. I know you have your marketing business. You got Detroit is Different. I've seen you host a few events over this past summer. So just wondering, like, what do you have in the horizon, or what do you see in your crystal ball for what's next?
Okay, so immediately you all know. This tomorrow, you need to be at the Collard Green Cook-Off. Next Saturday, you can come on out to the 20th anniversary of the backpack giveaway that Yusuf Bunchy Shakur is doing. But also, the night of the election, the Tuesday night of election, we're going to do a watch party from Detroit is Different. I'm gonna actually see what you're doing that night, because I want to get different voices to speak to what's happening. That's gonna be Detroit Next production with Bridge Detroit. Yeah. So all night, similar to the way you may watch
primary
CNN.
Or general election.
No, we doing this for the primary.
Oh, for primary. Okay.
For the third, pull up. We're looking forward to engage with people and see what's happening. You know what I'm saying? That night, we're going to go from like 8:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. and really just talk about the race, what's happening. I don't think winners will be announced probably by 10:30, but that is an event that's happening. Yep. Then after that, the performance I said at Petty Propolis. I know it sounds like I'm feeling like a rapper. You got to check for this, you got to check for that. State of Black Detroit, definitely that will be happening. And the documentary piece, the video essay I did on Detroiters and reparations is going to be a part of the Detroit Black Film Festival this year, so that'll be cool. Nice. I want to do some more video production space content things. The Natural Hair Show won't be happening this year, but I'm sure we'll do a screening of that. So it'll probably be more video iterations. One thing that for years I've been talking about, we haven't executed it, back to like, you get these ideas and you got to have the capacity to do it. But I definitely think soon we will do this roast of gentrification. Comedian Heather J is going to help with that big time. And, then getting ready for the Collard Green Cook-Off the next year, and the Natural Hair Show will definitely be back and kicking in with that rodeo.
Love it. And I'm going to make this PSA real quick, because we talked a lot about elections and what's going on in the city. If you are a Detroiter and you claim you are a Detroiter and you like to shout it from the rooftops, you need to make sure, and you live in Detroit proper, obviously, you need to make sure that you go out and vote. I believe at the end of July, early voting is available. It's different forms to do that. I'll make sure I put that in my newsletter. But all in all, make sure that you get out and go vote. I believe the primary is August 5th, the day to vote. So make sure that y'all tap in and go do your civic duty and vote for city council, vote for mayoral race, vote for all of the things that is on the ballot in your respective district.
I'm gonna uplift this. For years, I've been voting on the boulevard, and I did it yesterday.
Okay.
So you can go to the Department of Elections, walk in and vote there.
Oh, yes. That is available now. Yes, I forgot about that.
So you can go in. I've done that for now maybe about 4 years, because one year I went to my polling location and they didn't have my ballot. For whatever reason, I was not on the voter rolls. So I did a provisional ballot. And I'm like, what is this? And how does that work? So I'm like, y'all provisioning? It's like, nope. So now it's like, I just go straight to the Department of Elections. I won't have any issue. It takes all of 5 minutes. You still get the yes, I voted sticker. If you want to wait till the Tuesday to rock the sticker, if you're a sticker rocker or not, you can do that, or you can do it the same day. But I strongly urge people to go to the Department of Elections. If it's a larger election like this presidential one, when I went a week out, they had a whole setup back there. Like it was a polling location for real. All all the hours that it was open. So
Yeah.
Department of Elections.
So tell us line by line everybody you voted for. No, don't do that. Don't do that.
It's only gonna be three. You're only gonna have the
city council, mayor.
You're gonna have city council at large, whoever is in your district for city council.
Yep.
And you're also going to have the mayor. That's it. Because this is a primary election.
Right.
And this also kind of goes into some of the discussions from the county clerk that has been uplifted before. It's like the money to run elections also goes into this. And shout out Daniel Baxter. I know they're going to be doing a block party the day of the Collard Green Cook-Off, but he may make an appearance at the Collard Green Cook-Off too.
Okay. Bet.
Yep.
So, Khary, where can the people find you if they want to tap in? Of course, they want to pull up to the Collard Green Cook-Off. They want to follow the podcast and everything you're doing. Detroit is different. Maybe they want some marketing services from you. Where can they find you?
All right. So I'm going to announce this here because I haven't yet, even though I'll put it, but I'm going to wait. But Detroit is different, and I've redeveloped the whole website. So like I haven't done like an official relaunch. So go to DetroitisDifferent.com. The feel is all new. It's really cool. The donation button, the links and everything. So you can really go through our archives now, because for 10 years, and I wasn't as consistent as I was all those years. So you're going to see some years where it's like, man, you only did 20 episodes this year. Yeah. It happens like that when you're doing podcasting, right? But archive from 2014, so many guests. Some of those guests have passed away, like, Kwame Kenyatta and others, Orthea Barnes, my godmother. So like some of these archives are very precious that go on, and just those iterations of early starts in people's journeys of things. So go to DetroitisDifferent.com. On Instagram, it is Detroit is Different. On TikTok, it's Detroit is Different. On Facebook, it's Detroit is Different. We're on LinkedIn. I'm Khary Frazier across the board. If you see a Khary Frazier, even though I know people make ghost and fake pages, it should be me. If you see me, if you see in my stories, I'm running on the track and things like that on Sundays and Tuesdays, then that is my page. But KharyFrazier.
Perfect. And Khary, I appreciate you for pulling up to the podcast today and sharing your wisdom with us and giving us the story and background as to all the great things that you're doing. We just officially met today, but feel like we kindred spirits in the sense of what we're trying to do from a media perspective, and also a business and marketing lens as well, and what we're trying to offer to the city. And so just encourage you to continue to keep going and let us know how the audience or myself and Black Fridays can be able to support it.
Oh man, come out, let's support, and I'm looking forward to getting what your vote is and getting your ballot on not the mayor as much as it's like, who you think won this Collard Green Cook-Off?
Yeah, for sure. I ain't get the call this year to be a judge, but we're gonna work on that.
That comes with a lot of scrutiny now, as Howie Bell has been getting booed by many of people.
I'll take it. I just like green, so it is what it is.
All right, with that being said, thank you. This is so dope.
Absolutely. And everybody watching, listening, we're going to tap in with y'all soon.